Hello everybody, it is Saturday the 1st of June. Now I got a comment there about Gnosis, so I want to talk about this. About spirituality, about what the church teaches as belief, and Gnosis. So again, meaning to the words, so that we actually know what we're talking about, because this is not something fuzzy that is far out there. It is just within you, it is all around you, you are it, you are in it, you're doing it. If your view, or if your attention is directed toward all the way out there, you don't see what's right in front of your nose. And that's where it is. It's right in front of your nose. So, right, where do we start? Okay, let's start with what the church is teaching as religion. Yeah? The Bible, the way the story is told and the way the church is teaching it, it's taught from a very unique perspective, and that is from the perspective of the gods. They are telling the story. This is how we see ourselves and the universe. Yeah? This is the natural order of things. So, the gods, the few at the top, they see themselves as almighty. They see themselves as elevated. They see themselves as the rulers of everything else. That is actually their perception of themselves, what you're being taught. Yeah? And it is really their view that, they have an intense knowledge of self, of I am. Yeah? And out of that knowledge of others that may not be as self-aware, and that is in this world different levels of self-awareness, of levels of consciousness, mineral, vegetative, animal, most of man. Yeah? So it is their perception that we have knowledge of them, and that knowledge was given to rule over. It elevates us. We are the only true selves, and everything else is dust and clay. Golem. Yeah? That which it is the clay that can be formed. And we can form it into something that will serve us. And because we can, means we should. That makes it the order of the universe. The only truth. So that is what you're being taught. But that is, again, it is a perception of the gods themselves. Now, if you accept that as the universal truth, and yourself in that story as I am the dust, and they are almighty, and they should be ruling over me, then you are within the mind of God. You are inside of the hive mind. You have found your place in the structure of the hive mind. And you have accepted that as your truth. This is what I am. So, that is what we're looking at when we're looking at religion. Now, spirituality, let's go there next. Spirituality, yeah, again, far out, and then not here, after death, in another dimension, anywhere else but here. Thought and emotions are spiritual. They have no form. They're spirit. Yeah? So you have the story in the Bible of Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. And that is Eve is the rational mind, Adam is the emotional knowing. They're actually one being, just two parts of the same being. Yeah? So, and what happened was that doubt crept into that's a serpent, doubt crept into the rational mind about the all-knowing, omnipresent, omnipotentness of God, yeah? She started questioning that. And then they saw each other. Thought and emotion got connected to one another, and they started reasoning within themselves, and that is Gnosis. They started reasoning within themselves according to themselves. And then when that happened, the Lord God kicked them out. Now, what it actually says in the book about the cherubim and the flaming sword is not that it is keeping us from the tree of life, or that is, that is barring us the way. That's not what the book says. What it actually says is, he did it, he drove out the man and he placed those cherubims and the flaming sword to keep the way of the tree of life. That's what it says, word for word. To keep the way of the tree of life, to keep their way. And again, what is their way? Their way is that the few, the elevated ones, have all the knowledge and they rule over the dust, so to speak. That is their way. So if you say to keep the way of the tree of life, it is in keeping with their way to kick anything that has got any thoughts of themselves out of the garden. Yeah? That is their way. That's how they do things. Another way to keep the way is to preserve the way of the tree of life. And again, their way is the only knowledge is in the top, so something else suddenly comes up with some knowledge of themselves that then creates a threat to the top, an opposition, and you kick out the opposition, and then that is actually an act of pure self-preservation on the part of the ones that are at the top. That is what that says. Yeah? So again, it was an act, it was Gnosis. It was the awakening of self, reasoning for oneself. And there is again a completely different perspective of what you are and what you are in. If you say I am, that creates a completely new perspective. Yeah? And yeah, I will go by my own knowing. Yeah, I will not be ruled over by the view of something else and, accept that as the only truth. But I have a truth, a Christ within me. I've got a truth within me. An individual Christ. Yeah, and I will acknowledge that. And I will listen to it. And I will not beat myself soggy so I can be within the mind of God, But I will stand up for my own Christ, for the truth within me. Now, here is the problem, and there is really, when we think about going forward as humanity into the future, how would you work that, if you had people with an individual Christ, an individual knowing of good and bad. Yet now, let me just say there's one more thing, and that is if you look at the Bible, and the church tells you what is happening in that book is good, it is righteous, which is morally justifiable, simply because it is the will of God. That justifies it. Yeah? But if you look at the stories, again, as an individual, with your own Christ, saying, and you look at the stories, and which is many cases wholesale slaughter, yeah, then from your own perspective, is that good or is that bad? Is it morally justifiable because it was the will of God and that makes it good? Ask yourself that. And that is again getting out of the hive mind into an individual perspective of what's actually going on there. So, but how would we work that as humanity? Not the way, obviously, that the Elohim or others are working this. You know, knowledge was given to rule over. That would not work. If you have 8 billion people with an individual knowledge and they all think their knowledge is there to rule over, then you have 8 billion people at each other's throat. And no, that would not improve the situation, obviously, and would create chaos. So we need to find another way of working that. The hive mind structure has to go. In the spirit of cooperation. Because the first thing you should realize, apart from having knowledge of yourself, is that you're not the only thing here. You are not all. Again, they think that they are all. You are not all. Your knowledge, your truth is not the only truth in the universe. You're only a very small part of everything. So no, your truth is not the only one. And the book says quite clearly that it was not given to rule over. So you do not impose your truth on others. You don't. But in the spirit of cooperation, not to rule over, but to serve. And it says that in the book. Knowledge was given to serve, not to rule over. Yeah? And the way you work that then is that if somebody's in a situation, yeah, has got a lot of problems, you look at that situation from a very unique perspective, from self, yeah, and you can see things that that person cannot see, simply because they are not you and you are not him. And then you can offer of your knowledge in order to serve, not to rule over, not to insist yours is the only truth and he must do according to that. But offer it in order to serve, and then it's really a case of take it or leave it. And that's how it must be. And one last thing is that we are not as individual as we think we are, or as we're being told we are. You know, we're that selfish and individual that it would be complete chaos. We are not that. Because as humanity, we have so much in common. There are so many things that we would think and feel about in the same way as human beings. Yeah? We are a lot more united than we're being made to believe we are. If we would actually give of our truth to one another, we would find that we have so much more in common than we think. But as I said, there are individual differences, and then those have to be worked in the spirit of cooperation in order to serve, not to rule over. And I really think if we were, as individuals in our own truth, according to our own Christ, and if we work that as humanity, I think we can, because we're more like each other than unlike each other. And I think this is where we need to go, but then this whole pyramid hive mind system has to go, because no, with an individual Christ, that definitely would create more chaos than we're in already. So one last thing, and that is how can I speak about this? Yeah? how do I have knowledge? And I keep getting that thrown at me. You don't even meditate. Yeah? You have no knowledge of the spiritual, and it is somewhere else, and you need to kind of meditate in order to go all the way out there to see it. You don't. You're in it. It is here. It is all around you. Yeah? All you need is eyes to see and ears to hear, and you have to be able to think for yourself. And then look around you, what is happening in this world, and then compare it to what you're reading in the book. And that is all you need to do to see the truth. You don't have to go out there to see it, because it's here. And it's creating a reality. And that, again, is, for my part, it is Gnosis. From what I can see, what I can hear, what I can feel, and I fully trust my own five senses, and my intuitive knowing. And as I said, I am able to think, and that is all you need. You do not need to go out into another dimension to see the truth, because it is in you and all around you. Yeah? So you cannot know because you don't meditate. No, it's not how it works. In fact, if you have not seen the truth in this solid reality, you're not going to find it out there. Right. Anyway, I think I leave it at that for today, and I talk to you again soon. If you like what I'm saying, please share my videos, and if you want to help out a bit, any little donation will be greatly appreciated. Right, leave it at that. Talk to you again soon. Bye.